Thank you, Councilor, and good evening, everyone. I want to first of all just thank Councilor Palacio for organizing this meeting this evening. It's critically important that everyone has an opportunity to talk about the issues that are so concerning to everyone, in particular serious crime. And I want to say just right off the bat that the opportunity to have a chance to speak directly to the specific concerns that you have, particularly those tenants that are in the audience this evening, is very important to us. Toronto Community Housing takes safety very seriously. We have been working very hard on this particular community, and I'm joined here this evening by a number of staff, both from our community safety unit and from our operating unit, and I'll introduce them in a minute. In terms of background, Pelham in particular has been on our focus and our radar for some time, and in fact last year in 2011 we implemented a pilot of looking at an integrated approach to safety in this community, which means that not just working with our safety officers, but working with the operating room, that's my background, nursing, sorry, with the operating unit staff to help start to identify some of the ground-up level issues. And in doing so, we implemented a pilot where we put 2 on-the-ground safety officers of our own officers here in Pelham who have been instrumental in helping us actually address a lot of the antisocial issues that have come up in the community. And I'll actually have Terry Skeleton, our Director of Safety, speak to that specifically. In addition to that, you'll see around the room, scattered around the room, some of the pamphlets that we've been working on community standards in this community. And thank you, Bud is holding up that for you. Safety doesn't happen as our colleagues at Toronto Police happen. It happens because ownership gets taken by people that live in the community, and they do that in partnership with the individuals who are there and helping to support that initiative. So our community standards is another approach that we've taken to actually set the rules, if you would, in terms of what responsibilities are around safety. And we enforce that very strongly. And John Krawalczyk, who's our operating unit manager here, will speak a little bit more about some of the strategies that we've used in terms of how do we address these issues when we have antisocial behavior issues or issues of tenancy that need to be addressed that affect your enjoyment of your community. How do we do that? So without any further ado, I think what I'd like to do is to introduce Terry, have her introduce her staff who are here, and talk a little bit more about the pilot that we've done and where we're going with Pelham this year. Thanks.
Thanks, Deborah. I wonder if you could come forward. I'd like to introduce you to the 2 gentlemen that you will see most often in this community. And they're both special constables and work extremely closely with the Toronto Police Services. So this is Rick Zivko and Ray's shy. Okay. This is Rick Zivko. Z-H-I-V-O. Correct? K-O. Sorry. And Ray Campbell. Now both of these 2 gentlemen, as I was saying, are special constables. They've been in the security business for many, many years. They know this community, and you can feel free to come up to them at any time and speak with them and get their support. We also have tonight, and I'd like him to come forward, another man I want you to get to know, and he is Gurmeet Singh. Gurmeet is the supervisor who is responsible for the staff in this area and other areas in this part of the West End, south end of the West End. The safety staff, the community safety unit.
So is he in charge of security then?
He is for this area, yes.
Okay.
So
why didn't you just say that instead of saying in charge of, staff?
Well, he will be spending some time in this community with his staff. He and his staff are going to be working very closely with Toronto Police Services, and I do want to tell you that we're prepared to look at how we've been deploying our services, how we're focusing our attention, and even the shifts we work, to see if we can't adjust them a little bit more adequately to the needs. And we'll be doing that in conjunction with the planning work with Toronto Police Services and with the operating unit staff. I did want to tell you just a little bit more, as Deborah has indicated, about what we've been seeing so far. These officers started working here last May, and we have noticed, I think that they are getting to know lots of the community, some of you who are here tonight and others who perhaps aren't. And we are starting to hear a lot more from you about things that are happening in the community, not just the criminal events. Of course, we're hearing about those, and we rely heavily on the police to do their work here, as the officers have told you. But the everyday things, the disturbances, where there are disputes and people loitering and concerns. So we've noticed a real increase in you calling us, and we want to encourage you to do that even more so, because we will be following up on each and every one of those incidents that you call us about. John's going to speak again about the follow-up, but John and his staff are doing the tenancy management. And one of the things that we are trying to push even more heavily than we ever did before is following up with solid tenancy management on each and every issue. And for the next little while, we expect a spike in the calls, because we know you're going to call us. You've started to already, and we're quite happy about that. We think if we deal with those everyday problems and issues, it's like the broken window theory. If a window is broken and you don't fix it, then it's almost like a license to do more. And if you fix it, then it starts to correct the problem, and over time, things improve. So we're committed to doing that, and in conjunction with not just the operating unit staff, but we have community health staff as well. I see our friend here, Sherwin. I think most of you probably know Sherwin and his staff, the youth work staff who's been working in the community. But we have some other resources that Sherwin and John will be bringing to the community as best we can as well. So I won't go on. I want to perhaps pass on to John, and he can tell you a little bit more about the work that his staff is doing.
Thank you, Terry. Good evening, everybody. My name is John Kroljevic, and I'm the operating unit manager for Etobicoke South High Park, which includes Pelham Park. And I just want to thank Councilor Palacio and Deborah and Toronto Police Service for attending and allowing me to speak as well. I've recognized some of you, and I'm sure over time I'll get to know more of you. And what I wanted to speak about tonight is what we do as the operating staff. So I'm directly supervise the superintendents, your cleaners, your custodians, and we work very closely with the Community Safety Unit, Toronto Police, and the Councillor's Office as well. And when it comes to tenancy management, that's basically operationalizing the lease agreement that we have with all of our tenants here. And it's really simple to understand that if a tenant does something that is wrong or that contravenes bylaw, that's where the operations staff comes in. So one of the messages I wanted to get across tonight is encouraging people to call, whether it's Toronto Police, whether it's a Community Safety Unit, and for our tenants that understand the Easy Track, to call those incidents in, because I can guarantee you every single one of those incidents is followed up by one of the staff in my office. We have tenant service coordinators that deal directly with the tenants here. The tenant service coordinator, Catherine Regis, attends this building on a monthly basis. So whenever there's a concern that comes forward, and there are varying degrees, they could be very serious matters, or they could be minor antisocial matters. For the minor matters, we definitely contact the tenant. We let the tenant know what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable behavior. And we basically refer to a lot of property standards and occupancy standards. When there's more serious crimes, when there is a criminal charge laid against the tenant in any one of my communities, a notice of termination is automatically done. So that is something that we have been doing, and it has proved successful. The outcomes may vary depending on the severity and depending on the history, but I just wanted to assure everybody that when this information comes up to us, to the operations staff, it's not just filed away or kept on somebody's desk. The action is immediate, and the action is from the landlord to the tenant.